Hello, Stallions. My name is Danny Rovi, and I'm here with cross-country coach Mr. Bielecki to ask him some questions about the team and what goes on behind the scenes at the LaSalle cross-country program. Good afternoon, Mr. Bielecki.
Hey, Danny, thanks for having me, man.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. So, first things first, let's get into question number one. So, of course, with COVID-19, it's prominent around the world, and it's seen that many sports seasons are hard to be continued considering the safety procedures that are being mandated. So, how does the quarantine and this virus affect running as a whole?
Yeah, it's great. That's a great question. There's definitely been a lot of challenges. You figure we go to things that are called cross country or track meets, right? And the whole notion of it is a whole bunch of teams get together and meet up, to go and try to race each other and push each other and see how fast we can run. So obviously our season and the sport in general has had to kind of rethink how we do that. I mean, it's a sport designed to bring people together. Now, on the flip side, it is a sport that you can do completely on your own. So last spring and for the whole first half of the summer, I was communicating with guys, a weekly schedule and then almost on a daily basis what they were to do. And all last spring and all the first half of the summer, they were out there doing those things on their own. LaSalle and the PIAA have both been great in terms of putting out, kind of guidelines and protocols. So once we started to resume meeting with the guys, preliminarily, like in a voluntary basis, kind of in the latter part of the summer, and then once we officially started, back on August 17th, we've just been trying to be really smart about it. Guys wear their masks when they come to practice. We meet in separate groups, a freshman group, a JV group, a group. Even within those groups, when they're doing their drills and exercises before and after they run, we just try to make sure that they maintain that, 6 feet of distance. And then the good thing is when they're running, I mean, we are outside, they're moving, so, I mean, they're really not staying still. So the whole notion of that this is an airborne disease that, or an airborne virus that's transmitted, through the air, they're constantly moving. And then when we've raced and competed, really most of our top guys run a race for 16 minutes, right? So
Yeah.
we talk about it all the time, like, the duration of exposure, is close contact of 6 feet for a time period greater than 15 minutes, I think we've been able to be pretty safe, our meets have been no more than 4 teams in a race. The teams start spread out on the starting line, like everybody's 10 feet away from the other teams. So all things considered, I think we've been able to adapt to, the pandemic itself and then the restrictions and safety protocols that have been put in place by LaSalle and the PIAA pretty well. So honestly, I'm just like so grateful that we've been able to do this, after having been out of here last spring and missing a track season, and then so much uncertainty kind of looming over us all summer. And as we were getting ready to start the fall, just being at practice every day has been amazing, and going to meets has been such a truly wonderful experience. Like, I think everybody on our team, and me included, has really savored each one of those opportunities. So, thanks.
Oh yeah, of course, and I agree with that across a lot of fall sports. It's given a certain situation, I think that it's still a really good thing to be able to continue fall sports as they would any normal season. With some restrictions, but
Yeah,
still to a good
yeah, we're
extent.
just trying to be as smart and safe as we can, and try to do the best we can to make sure that we keep guys healthy and safe, because like, their health and safety and the health and safety of their families, has got to be the first and most important thing. So, it takes some reminding sometimes, guys, just saying like, hey, make sure we're wearing our masks, we're staying 6 feet apart, that we're making good choices, and that they're making good choices on the weekends when they're not here, making sure that they're not, going to, a place where there would be a big congregation of people.
Mhm.
And I think they take that responsibility really seriously.
Thank you so much for that. That's a great answer. Thank you. Moving on. So I have a question, and it's that
Sure.
what exactly motivates your players to keep pushing in the final stages of the race?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, we, and we train so that they can run really hard and hopefully be really tired, and that final parts of the races are uncomfortable and challenging. So we do a couple of things. I mean, one is like we do the physical training necessary that they are aerobically strong enough you know, that they are prepared for what's coming, right? You know, I mean, it's just like preparing for a test in school. You know, you have to do the studying, right? You know, so for our guys, it's about number of miles run, you know, the number of miles they run per week, you know, the workouts that we do. And then we talk a lot about how they will mentally prepare for something they know is going to be really hard, right? You know, and the biggest thing that they need to work on doing, and we repeat this time and again, is just focusing on managing the moment that they're in right then and there, you know, and when they focus on it that way, they know that they can handle what they're doing in that moment. If they get out of that moment and they start thinking about, well, I still have a mile to go, or I still have 1,000 meters to go, or I still have a whole half mile to go, sometimes the enormity of it all can kind of weigh on them. And actually then they become like anxious about the hard thing they're doing, as opposed to just the hard and difficult thing that they're doing, right? And again, back to school, you know, it really helps if you just focus on the one problem that you're trying to solve at that moment and not constantly think about the enormity of the whole test, right? You know,
Yes.
say like, hey, I studied, you know, I've practiced how to answer a question like this, maybe not this exact question, maybe this question in and of itself is particularly hard and challenging. I'm going to try to do this one the best I can and then go to the next question, right? So for our guys, you know, it's a 5,000 meter cross country race. Undoubtedly, it starts hurting well before they get to the 5,000 meter mark. You know, they have to, you know, prepare themselves physically, physically prepared for that, right? And then just focus on the thing that they're doing right then and there. Like, I'm just going to stay focused, you know, for this next 100-meter stretch or this 200-meter stretch to the top of this hill, or I'm going to run with this guy, you know, around this part of the course, and not get themselves caught thinking about, wow, geez, I still have a mile to go. You know, that's a very dangerous thought, because you're thinking about the finish line instead of thinking about what you're actually trying to do in that moment.
Yeah, and that's a great answer. I agree that it's really important to stay in the moment, especially over the course of anything that you're doing that's going to take a long duration of time or a excess amount of skill. It's important to definitely stay in the moment. So great answer. And another question based on mentality here. So I know that tomorrow, I mean, we're only hours away from the PIAA District 12 Championship.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the most important meet that you guys have had this year so far. So what's your mentality going into that? So anticipated.
Yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, it's the same as it was when we went to our first meet on September 18th, and you know, the same as when we went to the first invitational on September 26th. And honestly, it's going to be the same thing when we go to the state championship next Saturday. Control the things that we can control, right? And we're only ever in control of two things: it's our attitude and our effort. You know, we have no control over the weather. It's supposed to rain really hard tomorrow. You know, be pretty chilly. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to spend any time worrying about the weather. We have no control over how anybody else runs, right? You know, so tomorrow, you know, the other teams in that race may not, you know, be all that. Oops, I think the lights just went out on here on me. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Lights are back on. They're on like a sensor. You know, we have no control over how competitive the race will be tomorrow. You know, similarly, next weekend, I have no control over how well North Allegheny or Downingtown West or any other team in the state will run. But what we can control is our attitude, right? So we want to stay positive, you know. We want to enjoy it, want to have fun, right? We work really hard to get ready for these things. And this is what our guys love to do. And our effort, you know, and it's about running hard. And running hard doesn't mean like running all out the whole time, and running hard doesn't mean that we have to, like, you know, pour all of this, like, you know, kind of high intensity energy. I mean, running hard is like, our guys are really good and really practiced at running relaxed while running hard. So yeah, we're going to control what we can control: our attitude, our effort, and just try to do the best that we can do, have the best day that LaSalle can do, you know.
That's a great answer, and I think that's really true what you said about keeping rhythm throughout the race. You know, keeping a level pace is huge, because you don't want to start out too strong and finish out too soft, or you know, the other way around. So that's definitely you know, a major thing. And then again, so moving on. So I'm a bit of a sneaker fan myself, and I've heard kind of across the board that runners prefer different brands of gear and shoes. So runner, as a coach at LaSalle cross country, Which do you think makes the best gear to run in?
Yeah. So I think the answer to that is like there is a good or a best shoe for everybody. It's going to be unique to the runner, unique to their foot, and unique to their needs. So the big thing that we advocate for is for our guys to go to a running specialty store and meet with the people who spend their their entire livelihood to outfitting people with the running shoe that's right for them. So we've developed over the years some really good relationships with a whole bunch of the local running stores around here. With North Wales Running Company, Jenkintown Running Company, Bryn Mawr Running Company, Born to Run. I mean, these are places where the people that own those stores and work in those stores, they live running shoes. Like they go to all of the the big sneaker or the running shoes shows, and they know all of the people that design these things, and their job is to make sure that they can match your foot, your running stride, and your unique needs with the appropriate shoe, right? I mean, so I think the answer is there is a right shoe for everybody. And if somebody comes to practice and says, "Oh wow, I really like the that shoe that guy's wearing, I'm gonna go and buy those." Like I always say to them, okay, you need to see somebody at North Wales Running Company and make sure that they fit you and that shoe is right for you. Because if you just buy a shoe because you think it looks cool and it and you overpronate and that shoe is not made for somebody who overpronates, you're gonna end up injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a right shoe for everybody. And then yes, once you get kind of the right type of shoe, there you may develop a certain brand that somebody likes more than the others. But yeah, I mean, walking into a store and just being like, "Hey, I like that one. I think that one looks good," is definitely not the best way to pick a running shoe, especially for our guys who are going to run 50, 60 plus miles a week. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the shoes have evolved over time too, from
Yeah.
what they were now to the fact that there's numerous brands that are in the game that all have a compelling argument as to why they should why you should buy their shoes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variety now, so that's really great. But thank you so much for your time, Mr.
Yeah.
Bielecki. I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Danny.
you coming out for this interview.
Yeah.
Go Salle. I wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I really
Got
appreciate
it.
it. Have a nice
All right.
day.
Take care.